All right, hi everyone. Welcome back to the weekly RedFOX Labs AMA. As always, Ben Fairbank, the co-founder and CEO, is with us now to give us the latest news with RedFOX Labs. How's it going, Benny?
Very well, thank you. Very well. And you?
Good one. Yeah, doing great, thanks. Pretty cold here in Sydney. We'll get through it. And how's things over there where you are in Vietnam?
Stormy and monsoon season, but that's fantastic. Great place to sit back and watch while you're working.
Yeah, that is. Okay, so Ben, what's exciting you right now about what you're working on with the team?
Yeah, I think it's more the combination of a few things are starting to come together now. So I know people have been waiting with bated breath on what's next and what's happening next. We've been working on a few things behind the scenes that will tie in with some of the stuff that we're ready to deliver this week.
How's everything going with RFOX Finance, and how many RFOX tokens have you burnt to date?
Yeah, it's a good question. We've the first week we had a really great week where we burnt over 10 million, and then by the time the third week's burn came about last week, we burnt about 1.3 million RFOX. So still a decent amount, just not as much as it was obviously in the beginning weeks. But as the rewards come down, we're obviously going to burn a little bit less. But this is going to keep going for 5 months, so we're only we're up to the fourth week this week.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's going as expected.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing is that if anything, we had more RFOX put in the staking pools than we probably first thought there would be. But it's a great thing.
And I have a question from someone in the community, which is, when would we be able, and could we eventually be able to borrow against our RFOX or VFOX?
Yeah, so what we've said is that we're looking for a GM for RFOX Finance, someone to take that over as a full venture, and products that have been brought up as far as being potential products for the future have been collateral loans, also with the farming and staking of other tokens from other projects as well. And there's a couple of other products like insurance that can be looked at as well. So I think there's a scope for quite a few things that could be introduced very shortly.
Okay, and just on community questions for next week's AMA, if you guys watching want to leave a question in the comments, I'll take the 3 best and I'll ask Ben at next week's AMA. So yeah, give me your toughest ones. Let's get Ben working. All right, shifting on to some questions around the general markets. And I know it's normal for a lot of people to feel a bit flat right now with the way things are going. There is some hopeful sentiment out there, though. We saw Bitcoin rise about 30%, or over 30% from last week's price, and it reached around 40K. What are your observations, Benny, around what's happening in the market recently?
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching it as closely as I can, but obviously we're very focused on what we're doing at the minute. But it is interesting because, as I think Charles Hoskinson did a good video a week or two back talking about the fact that if Bitcoin goes up and it brings the market up with it, doesn't matter what your business is doing, you'll get the ride. If Bitcoin goes down, it doesn't matter how great your business is doing, or it doesn't matter what it's actually bringing out, the whole market goes down. So you're kind of at its mercy, really. But ultimately, we look at the fundamentals of what we're doing internally, and we look at the progress we're making, we look at what's coming, and we look at the traction that we're starting to gain as far as wallet holders and followers, and some of the marketing that we're doing into the local regions. And we've got nothing more that we can really sort of add to the fact that we're extremely happy with the way things are going. We're extremely happy with the way things are progressing internally. So now it's just a race for us to get everything tied up, everything pulled together, and make sure that everything's out. But as far as we're concerned, we're trying to move as fast as we can to getting away from that dependency on how the markets move. But in general terms, it went through a period of the last week or so where it didn't look very good at all, and now we're starting to see some of that accumulation again, and it's starting to look a bit 50-50 again. So only time will tell, I think.
Did you see the 5% reported inflation in the US? That's the highest rate since 2008. So what do you think is going to happen there?
I think every Bitcoin, I've always said the price of Bitcoin is a direct reflection on how happy people are with the current economic structures. So the higher it goes, the more dissatisfied they are. And obviously we've had a big pullback, but Bitcoin is starting to trend and chug up again a little bit now. And ultimately, with news like that around the world and with other countries looking at recognising Bitcoin as legal tenders and the way people are accepting Bitcoin for residency in some countries. So I think we're definitely headed in the right direction. We've always known that. It just takes twists and turns along the way. And if you're looking at it at a very localised now type of level, it's always panic stations and then joy and then panic stations. But if you zoom out and you have a look at what's happened over the last 4 or 5 years, it's just been a constant grind up and much higher scale adoption, better products coming out, closer and closer to getting something that people could actually use. And ultimately the story's, as it always was, extremely good. And for those who have been through a few cycles, this is nothing. This is very much a matter of just sit down, relax, put your seatbelt on, and there'll be some bumps along the way.
Yeah, so, and following on from the developments in El Salvador, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this space a little bit more. When it comes to crypto platforms that suit developing nations, so you've got play-to-earn games, DeFi, new e-commerce models, and metaverses, are there any other crypto use cases that you see coming into play for developing nations?
Yeah, there's a couple, and I think obviously that's our target audience as well, because we're in the emerging markets of Southeast Asia, and I think we've got a few products or services that we think might come in next, and I think we'll keep those under our hat because that's our objective. But as far as all of the things that you've just mentioned and what else could potentially be coming into play, I think the obvious answer to that would be governments will embrace, economies will happily take on anything that's going to make this make money. So ultimately we can talk about green and global footprints, and we can talk about emissions and all the rest of it. But ultimately speaking, if there's a governing body or a group of people that can make money out of it, that's the one that's going to get adopted. So these are all just nice little buzzwords and nice stories for the minute, but ultimately get something practical, that's usable and can make money, and that's what people are going to adopt.
Yeah, and as other countries and bodies, so you have like China and many central banks, as they race to develop their own digital currencies, that they'll want to dominate with their own digital currencies. And we see some power shifts as well. We see the Fed and we see US hegemony, it's in decline. So we've seen so much FUD and manipulation. So what challenges may face these developing nations as they face this opposition?
I think the ability to print money, as we've seen, is something that governments will fall back on when needed. And I think if you're a developing nation and you've accepted a cryptocurrency as a form of payment, or say that is the official currency, for example, the fact is you don't control the supply anymore and it's not yours. So that's why we're seeing this move towards countries saying that they want to bring out their own currencies. No doubt they won't be capped. They'll be unlimited. There'll be all sorts of favourable rules. But ultimately, they don't want to adopt somebody else's currency that they can't control or have any say over or really capitalise on. So, Bitcoin's the great use case and the great test, right? Because if people are saying they want a truly decentralised currency and they want to get away from these government-run currencies and it can't be making one person rich and all the rest of it, then there's no better example or use case for Bitcoin, right? So if people can't adopt Bitcoin and use that as the test case, then I don't understand what new token's going to come along that can, other than, as you say, state-run or government-run tokens that are 100% controlled by the government. And I don't really honestly see, outside of one being paper and one being digital, how they're any different.
Okay, so, and speaking of opposition, I remember the Ecuadorian embassy cut a deal with the IMF in exchange for political prisoner Julian Assange. So could the powerful bodies out there play some similar sorts of cards when it comes to crypto?
Yeah, I think that it depends again which way they go down. I mean, if you look at all of the data and you look at all the articles coming out, and there's a really good site. I'll see if I can get it to you, and we might be able to link it. There's a site that does translations of all of the different news reporting arms around the world. And you can actually do the searches on the articles that you're interested in. There's been some amazingly fascinating stuff about how governments and how these big corporate bodies, because they're even talking about the fact that the Fortune 500s will have their own tokens and try and control their own economies. So now people say that's very far-fetched and far removed. Well, it's not really very different to what's happening now, right, on a much smaller scale. So I think that there'll be lots of power struggles, there'll be lots of fights, there'll be lots of arm wrestles for who's in control of what, and this is definitely something that they have to get a handle on, and we have to have some clear directions on how to move down the track, because otherwise this could get pretty interesting pretty quickly. But I think that from what I'm reading from China and from a lot of these other nations, they want to govern, they want to control, they want to create, and they want to be the ones that are in control, and then that gives them the ability to broker those types of deals and to do whatever it is that they want to do. So I hope that we can provide some much more valid, and the people will sort of push for fairer systems and currencies. But that might just be my romantic notion.
All right. Well, yeah, as you said, things can get crazy. Anything can happen, as we know. So, right, well, before we finish, I do need to mention last week I got a little excited and I played a clip of Max Keiser at a previous Bitcoin conference, mistaking it for the 2021 Bitcoin conference. The clip had actually been reposted and fooled a lot of us out there because Max was wearing exactly the same outfit as last time. So apologies there, and we hope Max wears a different outfit next year. Now, Ben, do you have some final thoughts for this week?
I think all I can say without giving out too much, because I don't want to ruin the RFOX games as sort of news, but I think that all I can say is that we are definitely heading in the right direction. I think we're going to give people some confirmation, and we keep moving regardless of markets towards our end goal. We don't lose sight of that, and I think we are moving closer and closer towards having a lesser dependency on the market movements for the RFOX token to be demanded and used. That's probably what I'll leave it at and let RFOX games do the rest.
Good one. Okay, well, thanks a lot for joining us, everyone. Welcome to all the new ambassadors, community members, and RFOX holders. So we'll wrap it up there. Thanks a lot, Benny. Have a good week.
You too. See you.